been hit. We've also seen tear gas being used. Here we go, they're moving through again. This is exactly what it looks like. Exactly what it looks like. We're just staying safely.
Oh.
Whoa.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And that footage of Seven reporter Amelia Brace and her cameraman Tim Myers being whacked by DC police was seen live on Sunrise and replayed around the world, prompting the Australian government to demand answers from US authorities who are now investigating 2 police officers involved. And, in case you missed it, here's the attack from another angle, filmed by a US network.
Gosh.
See what's a photographer.
That's
going on now.
A member of the press.
Now there's just a lot of violence erupting.
The 7 News crew were covering what was widely reported to be a peaceful protest in the wake of George Floyd's death. But then police moved in with batons, gas and stinger ball grenades ahead of a 7 p.m. curfew and rolled over 7's reporter as she broadcast live on Sunrise.
Amelia, are you there?
Guys, you heard us.
Are you okay?
Yes, I am. I am. You heard us yelling there that we were media, but they don't care. They are being indiscriminate at the moment. Here they come again. We're moving back. We're moving back.
Of course, 7 weren't the only ones reporting those extraordinary scenes in front of the White House. Most of the world's media were also on hand, including Sky UK, as cops cleared the area for a presidential photo op.
Washington, D.C., the seat of power. Looking like a war zone, the crowds aggressively dispersed. Soon after, the path was clear for a stunning moment of political theatre. The president clutching a Bible at an historic church damaged by fire.
That video, produced by the White House, has been viewed more than 13 million times on Twitter. And predictably, it has played well for Trump's loyal supporters and for his friends at Rupert Murdoch's fair and balanced Fox News.
The media is sour now because they were forced to shoot a photo op of the President of the United States demonstrating that he's not going to be intimidated by criminals. It was a very powerful moment for the country, and they're bitter that they had to film it.
Most evangelical Christians also loved Trump's Bible stunt. But other church leaders, including the Episcopal Bishop and the Catholic Archbishop of Washington, condemned it, along with his visit to the shrine of Pope John Paul II.
The Bible is not a prop. Religious leaders, lawmakers outraged over Trump church visit.
Trump's threats, tear gas and a Bible.
And most of the US media were also scornful, as were many on social media, including those who took the mickey out of the photo op with memes like this and this, or this one, adding the famous words Trump uttered on open mic, revealed during the 2016 election campaign. The next election is now only 5 months away, and America has never been more divided, with a president who's either unable or unwilling to bring the country together. Indeed, his own former Defence Secretary and angry and appalled James Mattis told The Atlantic last week,
Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people, does not even pretend to try. Instead, he tries to divide us. We are witnessing the consequences of 3 years of this deliberate effort.
But Trump is not just dividing the nation, he's also whipping up anger against the media. Even as attacks on reporters escalated last week, Trump was fueling the flames with remarks like this on Twitter.
So pathetic to watch the fake news lamestream media playing down the gravity and depravity of the radical left, looters and thugs ripping up our liberal Democrat-run only cities. It is almost like they're all working together.
If ever there was a green light to continue the attacks on reporters, this was surely it. But Trump has done it all before.
What he's done the last 4 years of encouraging people to hate the press, enemy of the people, scum of the earth, using those rallies, it's a weapon he used, and we see the effects, I think. I'm not totally blaming him, but it's a large factor in the attacks on press that we're seeing on the streets today.
In such a climate, it's no surprise that journalists find themselves being abused and attacked, as Michael Anthony Adams from Vice News was by police in Minneapolis.
I'm press.
I don't care. Get down.
I am press.
I don't care. Get down.
Okay, I'm down. I'm down. I am press. Please.
And here's another reporter in the line of fire, Caitlin Rust from Wave 3 News in Louisville, Kentucky, discovering that being a journalist no longer protects you from police violence.
I'm here.
Are you okay?
I'm getting shot! I'm getting...
Katie, are you okay?
Rubber bullets, it's okay. It's those pepper bullets. It's those pepper bullets.
Who are they aiming that at?
Nice shooting at the photographer.
At us, like directly at us.
And here's a third, with MSNBC's Jolene Kent in Seattle taking fire from flashbangs.
We have police now advancing on protesters. Oh my gosh, we're moving.
Oh.
We're moving.
And reporters are not just being sprayed or caught in the crossfire. 2 weeks ago, the police arrested CNN journalist Omar Jimenez live on air while he was covering the protests in Minnesota.
I'm sorry?
You're under arrest.
Okay. Do you mind telling me
whoa.
why I'm under arrest, sir? Why am I under arrest, sir?
Officer's with CNN and he's on the air right now.
Okay.
The Minnesota governor apologised to Jimenez for arresting him and his crew, but one day later, Huffington Post's Christopher Mathias also found himself arrested after a confrontation with a New York police officer while covering protests in that city.
You look at my press pass, I'm a journalist. You're arresting a journalist right now.
Then you should have gotten out of my way.
I did get out of the way. You ran past me. Can you please get my phone? It's right there. Get my phone. Shut the up. You're not getting any phone. Get out of here. Let's go.
Those are just a few of the 170 documented examples of cops harassing the media. But it's not just the police who are hostile. Protesters have also targeted reporters, as Fox News' Leland Vittert and his crew discovered in Washington, D.C. Vittert told Fox News he and his crew were specifically singled out because of who he worked for.
This was different. We were really targeted. Our crew and I, the crowd turned on us. It was clear it was organized, and then a mob descended on us, chased us out of Lafayette Park there, took our camera, smashed our camera, took my microphone, threw it at me.
And it's not just Fox News reporters who are menaced by angry crowds in today's America. Here's Kevin Vesey from the Long Island cable channel News 12 running into heavy flack at an anti-lockdown protest in mid-May.
You are the enemy of the people!
You are fake news.
You are the
We
enemy!
all know it. You are fake news.
Plenty of Trump voters would have cheered that moment. And when reporter Kevin Vesey tweeted the footage, guess who was there to praise the perpetrators?
People can't get enough of this. Great people.
It's clear from the polls that President Trump's view of the media is widely shared by his supporters. 3 separate polls since 2018 have found more than 50% of Republican voters agree that the media are the enemy of the people. And why do pollsters even ask that question? Because Donald Trump pushes that line repeatedly to his 82 million Twitter followers. The rigged and corrupt media is the enemy of the people. A 2019 poll from the Wason Centre also found that enemy of the people line was working, with almost 9 out of 10 Republican voters agreeing that, quote, America's major news outlets are publishing fake news for political purposes. And, of course, attacking the fake news media is the president's daily bread, as he showed again last week, speaking to Fox News Radio.
There's so much fake news. Most news is fake. They're corrupt and they're fake, the lamestream media.
Again, that fake news accusation is something Trump tweets about tirelessly. In fact, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, Donald Trump tweeted nearly 1,900 attacks on the media in 4 years from 2015 after announcing he was running for president. And, their analysis noted,
Trump's most frequently tweeted phrases to describe the news media and journalists were fake news, enemy of the people, dishonest, and corrupt.
So why does the president do it so relentlessly? In 2016, having won the Republican nomination, he was asked that question by veteran 60 Minutes reporter Leslie Stahl.
And he said, you know why I do it? I do it to discredit you all and demean you all, so when you write negative stories about me, no one will believe you.
As former CNN anchor Frank Sesno, now director of George Washington University's School of Public Affairs, told the Committee to Protect Journalists,
Trump has mobilised masses to sneer and taunt and do worse to people who are doing their jobs. He frankly acts like a thug, prodding his followers.
And we can see the effect on the streets of America in what the media are now facing. But let's shift focus away from Trump and the mainstream media for a moment and look at how social media has helped turbocharge these massive protests across America and even start them in the first place. George Floyd's death at the hands of police, which kicked the protests off, was able to spark worldwide outrage because it was filmed and shared millions of times, globalising anger that might once have stayed local. And with everyone now holding a phone and a camera, videos like this of an old man being pushed over by police in Buffalo, or a child being doused in milk after getting pepper sprayed during protests in Seattle, can be seen by millions in a matter of hours. But misinformation on social media can also spread the anger, widen division and fan the flames. This vicious tweet from Antifa US last Sunday seemed to confirm the president's claim that leftist anarchist groups were to blame for much of the mayhem.
Alert. Tonight's the night, comrades. Tonight we say fuck the city and we move into the residential areas, the White Hoods, and we take what's ours.
But that tweet and the Antifa account were revealed to be fake, set up by a neo-Nazi white supremacist group called Identity Evropa, also known as the American Identity Movement. And while Twitter promptly took it down, that was only after the message had gone viral and stirred up alarm. Another false claim was that Washington's Capitol building had been set on fire. But while the image looked real enough, it was also a fake, lifted from the apocalyptic TV series Designated Survivor. Twitter also suspended hundreds of accounts last week for spreading baseless claims of a Washington, D.C. blackout that had cut phone and internet communications so police could crack down on looters. As the BBC reported,
despite the lack of evidence of a blackout, the hashtag garnered more than 500,000 tweets from 35,000 unique accounts in a matter of hours and became a global trend.
According to the Washington Post, the hashtag first emerged from an account with just 3 followers. So, who was behind it and why? Journalist Miles Parks told NPR,
it's really hard to pin things like this down to a specific country. I mean, experts I talked to said it is definitely in the Russian game plan, was the phrase that one expert used. When you think about the idea of spreading multiple contradictory narratives, like you said, to basically make people question what is reality, what is truth. Maybe there is no truth to get at and everyone's lying. What we do know about it is that it was well funded and well coordinated. This was definitely not somebody sitting in their basement on a Sunday night deciding to have some fun.
And this campaign was no isolated example. US website Digital Trends reported last week that Carnegie Mellon University's Professor of Computer Science, Kathleen Carley,
claimed she found 30 to 49% of accounts tweeting about the protests were guaranteed to be bots at any given time.
Her figures were disputed by Twitter, but Fox News reported another study claiming more than half the social media posts about the protests were from fake accounts and bots. And after talking to a number of experts, Digital Trends claimed
most of the accounts were promoting disinformation campaigns and conspiracy theories, including such false assertions that billionaire George Soros was funding the protests and that the killing of George Floyd, whose death at the hands of a police officer sparked the protests, was a hoax.
This sort of disinformation chaos was rife in the 2016 election campaign, some of it coming from Russia, some from commercial sites in Eastern Europe. So, as this next election approaches, can we expect a repeat? Last year, former FBI Director Robert Mueller was asked that question by the House Intelligence Committee.
Is this, in your investigation, did you think that this was a single attempt by the Russians to get involved in our election, or did you find evidence to suggest they'll try to do this again?
No, it wasn't a single attempt. They're doing it as we sit here. And they expect to do it during the next campaign.
Whether it's the Russians, the Democrats, the neo-Nazis, the Republicans, Antifa or Trump, it is in this landscape of a war on truth and deep mistrust of the media that America will approach November's presidential election. So how's that looking? And how will Donald Trump's pledge to enforce law and order play with voters? According to a Reuters Ipsos poll taken last week, a majority of Americans, 55%, disapprove of Trump's handling of the protests, including 40% who strongly disapprove. And in similar vein, Nate Silver's aggregate of the latest polls shows Trump's disapproval rating at 53.9%, near an all-time high, with his approval rating at 41.7%. President Trump's billion-dollar re-election campaign will do its utmost to close that gap, and Mackay Coppins, a reporter who spent months trying to penetrate the campaign for The Atlantic, claims that disinformation will play a central part.
What the Trump campaign is actively trying to do, and I saw this firsthand as I was reporting this story, is to make it so that there is no common set of facts, that people are so confused and kind of disoriented by the onslaught of information and propaganda that they just throw up their hands and say there's no way to separate out what's true and what's not, so I'm not even going to bother.
Meanwhile, Trump's campaign manager, Brad Parscale, the man who helped orchestrate his stunning 2016 victory, told Fox News in January they'll be ready for the war ahead.
The president's message resonates with the American people. We're going to have the ground game ready. We're going to have the digital game ready. We're going to be ready. We have been spending years now getting our voters ready to turn out.
And where does that leave the media? Divided, hated, mistrusted, and increasingly struggling to be believed. 4 years ago, when Media Watch first looked at Trump's war with the media, one commentator ventured that the media might win in the end. Looking today, it's very hard to be confident of that outcome. That's all from us tonight. There's more on our website. And don't forget Media Bites every Thursday on your favourite social media platform. But for now, until next week, goodbye.